Woohoo! Oh, hello everybody. It's me, Spider-Man. I just wanted to say, well, I don't exactly know what I was gonna say due to the fact that, well, we were planning a big 100th episode special, but we don't know exactly how many videos we have, awkwardly. Well, pretty much we think, despite the channel, when we look it up like multiple times and see how many videos we have, it says 97, although we think that we most likely hit over 100 and we were going to do a 100th video special. So we were going to have a guest star and stuff, but unfortunately, due to unfortunate circumstances, we couldn't have that special guest with us here today. However, what we had to do is a mix, because this video will commence a little storytelling and a little bit of reviewing, because as you can see, all Spider-Man stuff, because just yesterday, Spider-Man Homecoming, my new feature film starring Tom Holland as me, comes out, and as you can see, we went all out having Spider-Man decorations on behind the set. We got like a couple Spider-Man little things, we got a trivia box with me on it. We also got a little funny poster with Venom on it, hand-drawn by the way, and we got this Spider-Man Homecoming popcorn bucket bin that we saved, a collectible thing. It has like, this is on both sides of this part. Hold on. Yeah, see, both that and both that. The only difference is on this side, with him on the side, and here, with this lovely little, teaser image. And there's also a spider on it. Very cool. Could have been better if it was like a collectible cup, but whatever. It's still awesome because it's Spider-Man. Now, we pretty much want to talk to you a little, this is going to be weird because it's a mix of a review of the movie, no spoilers by the way. Well, there might be a little bit, but not 100% killer to the movie. But we're also going to talk about Spider-Man stuff. We're also going to talk about how the whole YouTube channel started from a vision. Vision, what are you doing here? You said from a vision, so I thought I would come and say that was my cue. No, Vision, that wasn't your cue. Oh, I'm sorry. Would you mind, Dude, you're making my spidey senses all tingly. Would you mind, scoot, maybe, like, over there? Okay, I'll go. Creepy. Anywho, did you need to... Will you quit doing that? Will you just go away, please? Oh, okay. I'll just go over here, then. Oh, jeepers. Sometimes I love him, but sometimes he gives me the heebie-jeebies whenever he does that. Well, pretty much what I meant by the whole, the picture that started this whole channel. Pretty much the inspiration behind it. Also, we'll be talking about the thing that, well, not really is important, but is sort of important. Well, let's get to first. Before I'll explain all the details later. First, let's talk about Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, for those of you who don't know, this movie was the newest of the MCU movies, although it's not 100% MCU. It's partially Sony, partially MCU. It's confusing, but we'll be able to figure out in a minute. Spider-Man Homecoming was definitely one of the more interesting Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man was played by Tom Holland, who was also featured in Civil War. Admittedly, not a bad replacement for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, or even Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Despite being a little biased towards the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man due to us really liking that one, because that's the thing that made us like Spider-Man in the first place, but Tom Holland actually does give a new direct approach to the character, and during the movie, he actually does a lot more than he did in Civil War. I mean, obviously, because it's his own movie, but the character, Spider-Man, evolves in the movie, and pretty much was his own independent character. Now I know what you're all thinking. Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man shows up in this movie. Some people thought he would steal the show. However, he proves to be a very good father figure. And overall, a good mentor. And he pretty much doesn't steal the show and have a lot of comedic moments. Pretty much, they have enough of Iron Man in there to not only make a comedic moment, but also to have a serious moment, and pretty much was able to make Spider-Man a better person and a better character, which is a very good thing that really boosted the film a lot, because there was a lot of people who are on the internet all going about with the whole Iron Man stealing the show. But he doesn't, which really is nice. It definitely is a boost for Spider-Man, and plus, it definitely shows that they're actually, listening to not listening to the fans, but you know what I mean, like, sort of aware of what people are saying. Almost like with the whole running joke about, Aunt May being hot and everyone finding her attractive. Like, they really didn't need to have that, but they did. And it was really pretty funny and effective. Even though it shouldn't have been, but it works. And, okay, everybody, now we have Iron Man on the show. Wait, Iron Man, what are you doing here? What? I'm here to help. I'm here to co-host. Okay, but couldn't you just let me know off screen and not make a big scene? Oh, of course not. But anyway, here's my intake of the movie. Oh, God. Oh, wait, hear me out. Remember the part of the movie where I come in and help? That was awesome. And pretty much, I was pretty much awesome because I gave you that suit, which gave you all the cool gadgets. And pretty much without it, you wouldn't be able to defeat that bird guy thingy. Speaking of the bird guy, he's played by Michael Keaton, and his name's the Vulture. But Michael Keaton, best known as one of the best versions of Batman, in my personal opinion, along with playing in Mr. Mom. Sorry for the awful image, by the way. But he pretty much, does a magnificent job as playing as my villain, one of my villains, the Vulture. To be honest, I remember first hearing that Michael Keaton was to be the Vulture in this new movie. First, I was like, oh my god, the Vulture's finally gonna get an on-screen appearance and stuff. But also, I also freaked out because of how the Vulture is gonna be played by Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton? Huh. He was alright, I guess. Would have been better if it was a little bit of me. Well, he had an awesome tech suit, which that was like crazy. Little bit of backstory and history. This guy, the Vulture, is one of my most classic enemies, and pretty much one of the more ridiculous ones too. Although he is laughable, he has gotten updates, but not too crazy. Although until now, he's definitely just all technoed out. Like, he is beyond insanely cool with all this new tech and stuff. They made him a lot more appealing towards audiences. But the Vulture isn't the only villain. There's a few others, like there's the Tinker, but he's not really much in it. He's just like one of the Vulture's side henchmen. There was also that guy. What was his name? The Shocker? Oh yeah, that guy. Well, he was more, I would mention him and the Tinker, but they're more like background characters. They're not like the full-blown villain that is the Vulture. And actually, despite the Vulture being such a not really that great of a villain and nobody really recognizes him, he's actually brought in a lot of people into the villains lore of the MCU, which is insane. I know, since everyone talks about how the MCU has a villain problem. Well, we think that ever since we had Ego, the Living Planet, in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, we're starting to get a trend of very good villains. First Ego, now the Vulture has been a very great villain, and soon we got one more villain, Thin Hela. What? Hela from Thor Ragnarok. Oh yeah, that's right, he's getting a movie. Ah, how cute. Well, it's not really that cute, I mean, think about it. It's probably going to be really excited, and besides, have you ever heard of the Ragnarok story? That one was like crazy. I bet it is. But we're not talking about Ragnarok or Thor, we're talking about me. And Spider-Man. Oh yeah, you too. But let's get you out of the shot. Anyway, back on topic. pretty much there was also a lot of supporting cast too, which made things a lot more cool. Well, you know what I mean. Pardon my grammar. Alright, here we got Ned, Peter Parker's nerdy best friend and comic relief. We also got Aunt May, who doesn't really show up a lot in this movie, just a lot of jokes about her. There's also Michelle, who is sort of a comic relief in the movie. We also got this guy who plays Flash Thompson, the bully. We also got the love interest for Peter Parker for the initial movie. These supporting characters pretty much make the world that Peter lives in and his life in high school and mixed with secret crime fighting a little bit more interesting. And besides, this whole movie pretty much takes the MCU in a new level, sort of like how Spider-Man, when he was first created, did with the Marvel Universe back then when he was first created. Because Peter Parker wasn't a billionaire playboy, a super soldier, a mighty god, or a guy who wanted to stick up for everybody. He was just a normal kid until he got bitten by a radioactive spider. And pretty much he was a teenager. Pretty much he didn't see the world how big it was until he got his powers and lost his uncle. Which, by the way, they don't mention at all, other than the radioactive spider bite, which the spider died afterwards initially. Then they don't really mention Uncle Ben that much, although they mention what his aunt has gone through, which we can assume being the death of Uncle Ben. But other than that, there's really no thing about it, which kind of is a disappointing feature. Not too bad, but just a little bit, especially if you consider the fact that if it weren't for the death of Uncle Ben, Spider-Man won't be the way he was, because Spider-Man before, he was cocky, he was like, he didn't really give a care in the world, he wasn't really that responsible, until one day he pretty much just let the guy who he let go, like, run away, and then later got his uncle killed, unintentionally, of course, and pretty much afterwards he learns to take his responsibility. Although here, they sort of also do that a little bit, but not with the death of Uncle Ben, but through a chain of events which he tries to stop the Vulture, stop these weapons that the Vulture's been sending out and selling and blah 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 and all this stuff. And Tony, he's pretty much like the Uncle Ben in the movie. Some people may say that, oh, Tony, he shouldn't have been in the movie, blah, blah, blah. This is Iron Man 4, just with Spider-Man, blah, blah, blah. But with Tony, it really made things a lot more interesting and more compelling. Yeah, that was really good. I thank you. Although there was a lot of funny jokes in it involving the characters too. And there's a lot of sad moments too. Especially just in Peter Parker at the end. Because pretty much he could have gotten everything he wanted, but he gave it all up to do the right thing. He gave up most of the things that would have made him happy just so he can have things not change, and how he can keep things the way they were. It was crazy throughout the whole movie how he learns through this journey, and pretty much through this big story, which is pretty insane. I'd also like to mention the fact that, well, there's a lot of jokes and references to many of the characters and some of the little Easter eggs. Look, when you watch this movie, look for many Easter eggs left in there of, like, things that happened back then, like some certain things. There's actually references to many characters in the MCU, like Flash Thompson was joking saying, like, oh, I just went on a date with Black Widow and stuff. Yeah, I didn't really like that part. It didn't make much sense. Yeah, I agree. But oh, let's not forget the big boy himself. I show up in the movie too. Oh yeah, tell him about that. Well, I didn't really show up for a lot. Spoiler alert, I didn't show up for a lot. I wasn't even there to begin with. I was just in a promo video thing. It's like one of those things that the gym teacher actually had, like, a video of me, like, telling kids, like, pretty much how to be a good soldier, be like exercising and stuff, and pretty much the teacher's like, well, okay, there it is, Captain America. I don't know if we should be listening to him now because he's technically a war criminal, but state law says I have to show it. So, which honestly, that part was kind of funny, almost as funny as the part where I pretty much was in a few other videotapes. I'm not gonna spoil what, but pretty much I'm some videos of me in there. And don't worry, it's all appropriate. It's not like one of those other things. And okay, Cap, I think you said enough. All right. Oh, did we forget to mention my reference? I don't remember you having a reference other than a couple of things about a magic hammer. Oh, okay. Were we gonna talk about my movie like we were a few seconds ago? No, no. This is all Spider-Man related. Well, do you know if we have any cookies, like spider cookies? But no, get out of the shot, Thor. Okay, by Odin's beard. Alright, that's pretty much getting all out of hand. Now, what do we here at the Plushy Squad community think of Spider-Man Homecoming in general? We thought it was fantastic. Out of all the Spider-Man movies that we've seen, they were all good. They were really good and all very true to Spider-Man. But this one just has a little bit of an edge. Not because it's new and there's a lot of more things. No. But, actually, most of the Spider-Man movies have the best special effects. Because think about it. We got, like, in the first movie with Tobey Maguire, that was a bit cheesy at some points. But later, with Spider-Man 2 and 3, the special effects were excellent. Along with in The Amazing Spider-Man, with the first Andrew Garfield with the lizard, the special effects were amazing and it looked really realistic. It wasn't like that fake CGI and stuff like in some of the earlier movies, but it was really good looking. Then Amazing Spider-Man 2, the special effects were decent. They weren't the great, but they were alright. This one was insanely good. Also, it did a little thing that many of us would want from our superhero movies, like, say, the Spider-Man movies. Something that we always wanted is that having it in the world where everyone can interact with each other. You know what I mean? It's like, how do I explain it? Ever watch The Dark Knight or any of these other Batman movies or Superman movies or any other movies and think, why couldn't Superman show up for that? Or why couldn't Green Lantern or the Flash or any other of these characters? I mean, I know obviously it's their own separate thing and they could do that, but there's many instances where you would think, couldn't they just give the other heroes a call and have them help? Here in Spider-Man, it sort of broke that line and pretty much got the much disrespected universe that it needs. So what do I say of Spider-Man Homecoming? Just of that edge, I give it an automatic 10 out of 10. And I highly recommend it. Michael Keaton probably was one of the best identifiable villains. Tom Holland, despite what people might say about him, including the cast of Civil War, despite how people in the cast of Civil War, like the guy who plays Falcon or Winter Soldier, have to say about him and how he's a pain in the ass, but hey, at least he's a good Spider-Man. That's good. But other than that, there's not really much to say. Anyway, the Spider-Man thing's getting a little bit much, so we're just gonna, end it here. But stay tuned for next time. We'll be talking about how this whole show came to be. Then the most important question, how, and some other things. Alright, catch you later. Bye.